Hey guys, it's Miss Allen. Today we are going to be using tissue paper to tie-dye our regular paper to make a really cool watercolor looking background. This is called tissue paper transfer, and you can see I made some flowers, and I'm going to be using Sharpie to do the flowers and some crayon, and I'll go over all the materials here in a second, but this is going to be so much fun and you're going to love it. I hope you guys enjoy watching. For this project, you're going to need some paper. I'm just using regular construction paper, and I have cut mine down into a square. You can leave it how you want to. I cut mine just because I thought it would look nice. You don't have to. You'll need some crayons. You don't have to have a big old box like I do, but you need some type of crayon. I suggest Crayola. We'll need a Sharpie or a permanent marker, and the reason that permanent part is important is so that when we start putting water on this, the permanent marker won't bleed like the tissue paper ink is going to. So make sure it's a permanent marker that we're drawing with. You also have scissors and tissue paper. I just selected a few colors out of my pack. You can pick whatever colors you want to, but these colors were just pretty to me. I am going to have to cut these into squares, or you can cut a different shape if you want to, but squares are pretty manageable. They're easy to lay on top of the paper, so that's why I'm going to do squares. It's just easier. And when we get ready to start transferring the tissue paper ink to our regular piece of paper, we are going to need a cup of water and a paintbrush. Let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide how many flower heads I want. And by flower heads, I just mean the top of the flower where the pollen and the petals are. I think for this piece of paper, I'm going to make 4. You can make as many or as few as you want to. I think at least 3 would look the best, but that's up to you. If you want to do 1 big flower or 2 big flowers, that would still look nice. But I'm going to start by putting some circles in different spots. So there's 2, and these aren't too huge of circles. I want to leave myself some nice room. 3 and 4. Now, and if I wanted to, I could do a 5th one. I might do a 5th one. Oop, that's real close to the edge. Be careful if you do this. If you get it too close to the edge, your flower either has to go off of the page or it has to be small petals. I'll probably make this one just have petals that go off the page, but just be aware of that. It's not a huge deal. It's just something I have to consider. Now, each of my circles are going to look like a donut now. We're going to put a circle in the middle. Now, I can start doing the actual flower petals now, and I'm gonna do a different kind of a flower petal for each one. Your flower petals can be dots, your flower petals can be regular bouncy flower petals like a daisy. You can try to do pointed flower petals. You can even do lines with dots like a dandelion, and it will still look really cool. Just try to make each one have some type of a different petal, and you can even add designs to that. I'll have to show you that in the fast forward, but I'm going to go ahead and start designing my flowers. I'm also going to give each one of my flowers a stem that comes down to the bottom. Now that can be a little tricky because it'll take some of your petals probably, but you're going to make a nice stem. Doesn't really matter how it goes, down to the bottom. I'm just doing 1 line. You can do 2 if you want to. I'm just staying pretty simple with this. Doing 1 line is enough for these because the tops are so detailed. I thought 1 line would look better. I am going to add some leaves though, so you can add leaves to yours too. And I might do a pretty simple leaf on each one, maybe just 1 leaf. Now, because these are all really different, you could always do 2 different kinds of leaves if you wanted to, or a couple different kinds of leaves if you wanted to. Sorry, I'm having a hard time. I might do 2 on each one because I like having 2 leaves. And I'm just having a hard time finding a spot for this one because this flower, but it'd be okay. So once you have leaves, if you want to put a line through your leaves, and then I'm going to put a design in each leaf, just on one side. I'm not going to do both, but I'm just going to do one. You can do both if you want to, but just one side of the leaf I'm going to make some nice diagonal lines. Because the colors that I picked for the tissue paper are warmer colors, I'm going to use cool colors besides green. I'm going to use cool colors to decorate the middles of my flower. And you'll notice I have a white as well. You can use white and it will also show up super duper nice and white. It'll be hard to see while we're coloring, but it'll be really, really cool once we get all the other stuff on top of it. So I'm going to use my white, and I'll say this again, I'm just going to make the middle flower, so the donuts, guys. I'm not going to worry about decorating the petals. You can decorate these other areas if you want to, but I think it'll look a lot, I don't know, I think it'll look good if I'm just doing the middles. You don't have to decorate everything. You can just do the middles, and I think it'll look just as good. You can even skip this part and just have the tissue paper decorated, and that'll also look pretty cool. But for something a little extra, I was going to show you this. So let's pick, I think this flower can have a white outline, and I know that you are seeing this and you think I am not making any kind of a mark, but I am. You can't really see, but I've colored around that, and now I can do different colors in the middle. But I'm just going to make each one of these a different color. So for example, if I wanted to do blue in one space, and then maybe a purple in the middle. But I'm just going to keep decorating all of these different flowers until I get all the way done. So now that the coloring part is done, I can start using my water and my paintbrush and start laying down my squares of tissue paper and starting the transfer process. When you get ready to paint this, please make sure that you have something between the paper and your table. I just found a big piece of paper, really big piece of black paper to lay down. The reason you want to do that is because this is messy. This tissue paper might stain your hands, and it also could stain whatever surface you are painting over top of. So having some kind of a protective surface underneath, the protection sheet, as I call in my classroom, will really help keep the mess to a minimum. It probably won't go through 2 pieces of paper, so I don't think I'm safe using just this big piece of black paper. But what I'll do first is I'm going to take my water, my paintbrush, and I just have a nice flat brush. It's not very big because I just couldn't find my big one this morning. But I'm going to get some water on my brush, and I'm going to start spreading it across the paper. It doesn't have to be too much water. I'm just getting it in certain spots. This is just going to help the tissue paper stick when I'm ready. Oop, moved it. Alright, so once I have a nice layer of water, I can start taking my tissue paper squares, and I have green, pink, and yellow, and I'm going to start laying them down in random spots. And I'm going to try to overlap them a little bit. But once I start getting a couple of these down, I'm going to take my brush and I'm just going to wet that again. And that's just going to keep it where my fingers are still dry for right now, where I can get this nice and saturated. You want it to have quite a bit of water on here to bleed. But I'm just going to keep making layers of colors all around this until I get the paper completely covered. So once you have the whole paper covered in the tissue paper, just to be sure, I'm going to go all the way back over very carefully with my water. And I say carefully because this is paper. We don't want to rip it. But I'm just trying to make sure that it's soaking into that bottom layer. So I'm just giving it one more little water bath all the way across. And you'll notice in some areas I doubled up my spaces. I put extra tissue paper in spaces, trying to blend those colors a little bit. But once I get this all the way wet one more time, I'm going to stop and I'm going to let it dry. It needs to dry pretty good, but once it's dry, you can go back and start peeling off the paper. Make sure it's dry, otherwise it's going to be all over your hands, guys, okay? So we'll let this dry now. So now that this is dry, I can go ahead and start peeling, and oh my goodness, it looks so cool. Ah! Yay! All the colors stayed, and now I have this big floppy mess of tissue paper I need to get in a trash can so it doesn't stain anything. But oh my goodness, it's looking so cool. Nice. Okay, sorry, I'm speechless because I was not prepared for these colors to bleed quite as well as they did. And now you can see in the spots that had crayon, it bled a little bit on top, but not too much. You can see I still have a lot of white there and here. And it was only bleeding through spots where I didn't get the crayon completely covered. So if you bear down harder with your crayon, it should avoid that a little bit. But I think it looks pretty awesome. It's still a little floppy, so I'm going to let it sit here and dry a little bit longer before I mess with it anymore. But that was so much fun! And we're done! I thought this came out so pretty. I love the colors on this one. I hope you guys had just as much fun as I did. Feel free to send it to your teachers or to send it to me, and you can find those emails on our school website. See y'all later. Bye.